Ali on the Americans Hammers TV. Hopefully you should know me by now because I've been on a couple of times, and you should already be reading my blog if you're not Adventures in Claret and Blue, though I'm sure you're reading it and going, only Manchester to get to a West Ham game? That's nothing. With me is Reese, who is going to be my co-host to talk about the West Ham women and what we have and haven't been doing this transfer season, and a few things that the fans are a bit, I think narked is probably the best word for it. But I'm going to let Reese introduce himself and tell us all about his West Ham story.
So I started supporting West Ham when I was quite young, about 6, and I used to go to Upton Park every weekend, but obviously due to the demands in men's football, got a bit too expensive, so I stopped that. And then I got to the part where in my life where I needed to kind of create a job avenue, so I went into non-league football for a few years. And then last year, luckily, there was a opportunity for me to go back to West Ham United game supporting the women's team.
Okay.
And to be honest, at the start, it was kind of just a thing to do on a Sunday. But women's football's really surprised me because over a year ago, I don't think it was taken as seriously by football fans across England. And I think that's really grown. And I think it's mainly due to teams like us and Manchester United. You know, our club paid to get into the FAWSL, is my understanding. So that shows a real mark already to the FA that we're going to take this league very seriously. And I think within the squad last year, I think we kind of had a squad where we had a starting 11 after the first few games that was confirmed. But this year, looking at the squad, I think, well, I've been trying to work out who's going to play. Yeah, and there's so many options that you possibly can't. And I think this year, Matt may choose the lineup based on an opponent, if that makes sense, rather than recent performances.
That I'd hope so, because I've definitely been at games when our subs bench was 2 and one of them was a goalkeeper.
Yeah, I remember that. And I think the trouble for me was when we played Arsenal and Man City at home, we was coping with them for the first 60 and 70 minutes, kind of like the cup final at Wembley.
Yeah.
But where we didn't have these players to come off the bench that can stabilise that performance consistently, like Man City and Arsenal do, I feel like this year with this squad, I don't know about you, Ali, if we were 2-1 up against Arsenal with maybe 20 minutes to go, I'm more confident that we could keep hold of this result with these current players than I was last year.
Yeah, because we've got more choice to pull off the bench. Because like I said, last year we often only had 2 subs and one of them being a goalkeeper. I think this year we've got more defensively. We've got more choice up front. We've got that younger striker from Le Havre, which I think is going to be she's young and she's going to be moulded by Matt, I think. So I definitely think we've definitely got more of a shot this year than when we last year, like I said, when we had basically an 11 squad.
Yeah. I think with Martha Thomas as well, what's really important is she kind of does look like the same player as Jane Ross, that she's going to be made to hold up the ball and put them balls through to Lehman and De Graaf or Kiernan, whoever starts on the wings. Because I think Jane Ross was kind of underappreciated last year. I think with her style of play and the way she held up the ball so well, I think without her, we would have struggled a lot more towards that stage where we wasn't really getting results.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I think Jane definitely was underappreciated. But then again, I don't think she played the same style of football that Matt wants to play. I think she's very much the typical number 9 up front, and we didn't quite have that feeder 10 because obviously Julia Simic, our actual number 10, went off injured in December. So we didn't quite have the layup that I think Matt wanted.
I think what's important as well, Ali, is a lot of fans on Twitter have been, well, our women's group have kind of was a bit worried towards the stage where we was losing quite a lot of players. But through my non-league background, I'm kind of used to that whole rotation. So I was trying to reassure people that that was going on. But I think what's important as well is while, the club ain't letting us into these friendlies, we can look at our squad now as fans and get excited. Where last year, I don't think we could get as excited by it.
No, because a lot of the time they did release your squad, but all your squad was called Trialist 1, Trialist 2, Trialist 3. And then you're like, is that a really common name? Or what is it that they're doing?
But I think it's also, us not being allowed into these friendlies. I think that's actually quite a clever ploy by the club as well, because you never know. Arsenal. We've got Arsenal on the first day of the season.
Yeah.
There could be an scout there watching. So being behind closed doors, it kind of does put that one under the carpet.
Yeah, you'd hope so. And I'm hoping we can actually get more fans down to Boreham Wood, because last time we played Arsenal, I was the fan.
Well, I think by what everybody's saying on Twitter, you won't be the only fan this time. I'll definitely be joining you. So,
yeah, I think we were playing Chelsea. The men were playing Chelsea at the same time. So, yeah.
But one thing that's actually surprised me, Ali, I think towards the stage where we were starting to win around that Christmas period, I think the fans started to get a lot more involved and excited over this team. And I think now, this year, because of the World Cup, they'll be boosting home attendances, but also our away attendances will grow.
Yeah, because I think also there's cause to support the girls, but I also think there might be some curiosity to see I can go to Manchester and watch Ellen White and Steph Houghton for
I'm just going to quick let you continue speaking. I've got to let my dog out.
That's what the live's for. But I do think it is going to be a case of people are going to recognise players that they saw in the World Cup. So you are going to want to see the Steph Houghtons, your Ellen Whites in the England squad. You're going to want to see, I can never say a name at Arsenal. Is it Niedermeyer?
It's Niedermeyer,
yeah. There we go. And things like that. So I think that's going to also be an added draw. And then when people start to know and love our girls, then we might start building, a bit of our own army.
The one thing I was gutted about when Ellen White signed for Manchester City, I remember I was coming on the bus home, I remember one of our secretaries was speaking to Ellen White after a game when she was in a full Birmingham kit. When she announced she left, I thought, hold on, was that kind of our ploy to try and steal her off Birmingham? And then of course she signed for Manchester City, so that was that on the window.
Oh, I called her out on that. I went to a Lionesses game the week after she signed for Man City, and I got a photo with her, and I was like, oi, aren't you supposed to be a West Ham fan? What are you doing signing for Man City? And she was just like, well, I am a West Ham fan. I was like, clearly not.
Well, to be fair, I think we have got quite a few. Last year, we did have quite a few ex-Man City players. Maybe if we signed her a year earlier, she could have fitted right in.
Yeah, we should have maybe got her then. We did actually have quite a few, because we had Rossi, but we've still got Midag, who I'm very excited to see play. I remember her from her Man City days, and we were very unfortunate that she got her ACL injury just before last season. So I'm actually excited that she's actually getting minutes back on the pitch, and she should be with us.
One player I'm really interested to see is, I think it's Galabi Archie.
You're a braver man than I for trying to pronounce that one.
I think she's going to kind of play that Vasadi role this year, where she's going to kind of attract the defenders with a skill, and then there's going to be that kind of space left that Thomas is going to run into.
Yeah, and also we've got Lehman who can do that as well, the run into space. It will be interesting to see how she holds up the midfield.
One thing I'm really worried about, though, is I kind of think if Lehman gets injured or anything, God hope it doesn't happen, but if it does, I don't think we've got enough cover. I think maybe the problem is if Lehman goes down, then we are a bit stuck.
But luckily, with the women's league, we've still got another 2 weeks left in our transfer window. So hopefully that we can maybe find that player to bridge that gap as well.
Yeah.
Then again, though, we're not all Chelsea where we're lucky enough to have 2-3 players for each position.
I mean, let's be honest. Chelsea's budget is ridiculous. I mean, they're that type of squad. You know, say Batchman was starting, she gets injured. Oh, don't worry, we've got another 4 players in the exact
Absolutely.
same position with the exact same quality.
It was a running joke of how many goalkeepers does one team need when they had 4 at the.
I mean, that was ridiculous last year when I can't remember her name, the Birmingham goalkeeper.
Yeah, Berger.
Yeah, and they had. I thought they was going to get. I thought Telford might have left because I think Earps was struggling at the time. So that was my thinking that Telford could go to Wolfsburg, but then they just kept us. So I was thinking, wouldn't it be better for Berger to stay at Birmingham and then join in the summer?
Well, that's it, because that was my argument. I was like, A, how many goalkeepers do you need? And B, why is Telford still there? Telford is always in contention for England, #1, and yet she's not even Chelsea's #1. So it was...
yeah.
If I'd been Telford, I would have probably tried to find a club that would give me first team play.
Then again, that's going to be really interesting now because I think for Phil Neville, where Earps was playing out in Wolfsburg, he couldn't kind of watch her as much. I think this year, if Earps has a really good season for Manchester United, I think she could be in a shout with stealing the England #1 spot.
See, that's the thing, because she's had a bit of stroke of luck with Siobhan Chamberlain announcing her pregnancy. So whereas before she might have been Manchester United's #2, she's suddenly going to be catapulted into #1 because obviously Siobhan Chamberlain will not be playing this season.
That will be interesting though, because I think now, I don't know about you, Ali, I think now Greenwood has left today. I think that could open up full place spot.
Oh, that was a shocking one because, going to be honest here, I don't rate Greenwood that much. And I think there are better left backs in the league. So I'm not quite sure what Leon saw. But I know that a lot of Man United fans are devastated right now that she's not in their squad anymore. Because like you said, they were looking for 4th, 5th this season. And so it's going to be interesting.
Who's there?
So let's talk about our players. So we've got so far. So what do you think we're missing? What haven't we done yet in the transfer window?
I think I spotted that out earlier, Charlie. I think we need to kind of cover up that left wing position. I think with right wing we've got De Graaf and Killens. I think that's a really strong competitive side of the pitch. But for me, left wing, we need to get cover there because I think Leon can do a good enough job. But I think if I was Matt Beard, I'd rather have Leon maybe up top with Thomas or on the bench. So when Thomas gets tired, she can do that same role rather than play her on the left wing. Yeah,
I also think we need a goalkeeper. We are officially into Morehouse.
I think we've got that covered by things I've been seeing on Twitter.
Well, that's the thing. What we officially know is that we are only down to one goalkeeper, but rumour has it that we have signed another goalkeeper. And if you watch some of the early footage from the West Ham women, you may see said goalkeeper because I believe she features in the back of another player's entrance video. You kind of see said goalkeeper, so I think that video.
I'll tell you what, if my players at Barking, the team I work for, if they would have posted that team video and I was a media manager and I hadn't announced half them players, I'd be going in the next day into work absolutely screaming at them players that have released that photo.
I was going to say, yeah, it has kind of there is a very telling photo that has been released that has given away a few of our players.
But I can't understand this because all the players have been saying how seriously the club, when they've had meetings with Matt and everything. But for me, it kind of gives the feeling that they've been told to say it almost, because with the media, it's not been backed. I think we've been very poor through our social media systems this year.
Like, we had a lot of buzz. Like, we got to the FA Cup final last year. We had that TV series on the BBC. We've had the World Cup. We should be really, like, pushing our team, and we're just not.
I think the trouble is as well was at the start of the season, I went to the men's match against Wolves, and there was at half time there was kind of on them big screen things, come and support our ladies, and I think towards the middle of the season that kind of stopped. But another thing I kind of have a problem with is I think if that men's team would have got to the final, across Rush Green there may have been a lot more posters. I think that's what I didn't think of, was creating posters and kind of putting them out in the street if they was allowed to.
Yeah, that's the thing. There was no real advertising for it, because I went to a couple of games before the final, and they had it up on the screen just being like, our girls got to the final, but there was no audio announcement about it. There was no, like, anything at the stadium to be like, come support them and stuff like that. And I know we had the clash of games, but it wasn't exactly the most important game.
But that was like, I think it was still poor of the club. Yes, the men's team had a game, and but I think sometimes the club don't express enough the fact that there is more West Ham fans that are not at the men's game in the London Stadium than there is. And I think every West Ham fan would have loved to see any West Ham team get to Wembley.
That's exactly.
I think even if our under 12 sometimes would have got to Wembley, we're so desperate for one of our teams to get to Wembley, we would have turned up in numbers.
As my mum says, we'll just support West Ham anything.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think. So we'll go through some of our signings. So we've signed a couple of Germans from Wolfsburg, which I believe might be Miss Simmich's influence, because that's her ex-club. So
I think she's going to have the role as agent when she decides to retire at West Ham.
Yeah, you do see a lot of in the interviews. They're like, well, I spoke to Julia, and Julia said that, and you're like, thank you very much, Miss Simic.
I think as well, I think where Matt Beard's got a very good record in the women's game. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research on managers over the summer, and I think when players kind of research that Matt Beard has got all these trophies and everything, and has a very good resume. Because I think, to be honest, last year with our squad, he definitely overachieved, and I think players look at that and kind of want to be a part of it because of the manager. And plus, I think the advantage of having Simic there is our German players feel like they can fit straight in, because moving to a different country is challenging in itself without not knowing half of your teammates.
Yeah, I was going to say Julia does help, and she once told me that she was a funny German, not a serious German. So hopefully she will. I do love our team. They're some of the most ridiculous people, but they are brilliant people.
I think one thing that is a main advantage for women's football as well is it's very much like non-league, where you can get that interaction. You can speak to the players at the end of the game. But one thing that really did melt my heart last year was when you saw the 6 to 7 year old boys and girls that was so, in adorance of our players, especially Rosie Kamita.
Yeah, she was a favourite. Then one of the 6 or 7 year olds, I was like that. You should have seen me when Jimmy spoke to me for the first time.
I didn't really want to embarrass you, Ali, but as you've done it yourself, I saw you march a 7 year old out the way to get them autographs. Don't worry, Ali.
I've never done that, I think. So we're focusing on who we've got, but we do have to touch on who we've lost, because that is going to feel a bit of a thing. Obviously, we lost 2 to retirement with Claire Rafferty and Luciane, both staying adieu. As I often say, Claire decided that 3 knees was enough, and she was done. So how's that going to impact, do you think, with the losses we've had this season?
I think with Lucian, she was she was one of them midfielders that done such a good job and made it such a norm that it went unnoticed. I think towards January when Cho So Hung came in, that partnership there was so important because I think towards the start of the season it was very easy to get through our midfield. But when Cho So Young came in with Reichstart, we was really shoring up in midfield. But for me, I think Reichstart as well, she's a leader and you can tell that when she's on the pitch. I mean, she doesn't just tell a player what to do, she screams at them to do it. And I think we're going to lose that this season.
Yeah, definitely. And also biased reasons, but we are going to miss Brianna Vasali in that middle because the pace that girl had in the middle.
I'm going to be a bit controversial here. I don't think we are because I think Gagliardi, if she has that kind of fan interaction as Vasali did, I think she could be maybe even more of a fan's favourite because I've seen some YouTube clips and some matches of her playing, and she looks like a really promising player. But the thing that worries me about her is if she does too well at West Ham, comes.
That is the problem you do face because if anybody who doesn't follow the women's game, just Google Birmingham's transfer window this year.
I think this transfer window is going to be called the Birmingham Raid or just something like that.
It happened to Liverpool the season before, which we did benefit from because we got Kate Longhurst out of that. But it does look like poor Birmingham may not be even able to field a five-a-side team this.
Then again, I kind of feel sorry for Birmingham because I think last year, this year, if they would have kept that same team, I think they could have competed with Man United for full still. But I think now they've lost all them players to the big clubs. I think kind of there's going to be maybe a gap between fourth and fifth. And to be honest, I've been doing my FAWSL predictions, and right now I can see it between us and Liverpool for that fifth spot. Where if Birmingham would have kept that squad, I would have had them there.
No, I definitely think we're definitely going to improve. I think we've got our core group from last season that know each other well, and have gelled. Plus, we've got the players. I think people are forgetting we've got players that were out injured for a really long time, and they've come back now. We've got Julia back. We've got Tess for the first time. We've got Esme back. And I think people are forgetting that. So when they're saying we've not signed that many, you're forgetting we're actually bringing in players we already had. And then plus the signings we have made, we've been clever, I think, with our signings. So I think we're going to definitely challenge.
I think what's important as well about this squad is I think both of our strikers are very different, if that makes sense. I think Thomas is your typical number 9, and I think Leon's a bit like the Chicharito in the men's team that kind of drives into the pockets, but can also really strike from any distance.
Yeah.
So I think this year we've got, a balanced squad, but players that can also come off the bench and create something different with the team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you've got us at 5th, maybe pushing 4th. Any predictions on who you think's going to win?
See, now, I think last year, if you look at the FAWSL, I think the Champions League was kind of Arsenal not being in that was their advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like if Chelsea can kind of do what Arsenal did and get a little, run, I think I've got Chelsea to win the league this year. I don't know why, but I just have a feeling that Chelsea are going to win it.
That pains my West Ham heart to say that Chelsea are going to win anything.
Well, as I'm saying that, I'm kind of stabbing myself in the chest.
Yeah,
it feels
you can't do it, mate.
I'm saying it.
Right, so...
But
yep.
Yeah.
So you think Chelsea. So are we thinking Chelsea, Man City, Arsenal, or are we thinking Arsenal might be able to keep their Champions League spot?
See, I'm stuck with them two because I think their squads are so similar. I think Arsenal they've got such a strong squad, and they've strengthened it, which I think is important. I think BT going to Arsenal and leaving Manchester City, I think that could kind of cost Man City that Champions League spot.
Yeah, she was definitely a big head. I can say I'm not going to be that upset to not play when we play Man City, because it's going to be bad enough we've got to face Ellen White.
I mean, then again, I think we did, when we played them at Birmingham at home, I think we did cope well with her. We kind of kept her quiet, but not the midfield, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. So what does West Ham have to do you think, to get us up to 5th? Because we finished 7th last season.
I think what's very important this year is, I think we really do have to improve our home form, because I think that really did cost us last year. And for me, I think we was being a bit too negative at times at home. And I think away, we played with such freedom. And when we did that, we looked like a really good side. But at home, we were so defensive at times, where I was sitting at Rush Green getting bored. And it's really hard to make me bored over any football game.
Yeah. So to have that more free-flowing attacking football, and
because I think when we did that at home against Bristol City, when we had them type of sides, Yeovil and all them, I think we looked like a really threatening side. But I think at Man City, Arsenal, and Chelsea, when we played them at home, I feel like we went into them with too much fear. I feel like with them type of sides, if you go too defensive, I think they're going to beat you anyway, because they're gonna run you ragged for the whole of 90 minutes. You're going to get to that stage in the game where your players are going to get tired, and I think they'll just unlock you at any moment. So if I was Matt Beard and I was going up against them sides, I think the best way to attack them type of sides is by attacking them, because sometimes them sides are weaker in defence than they are in attack, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's what happened to us in the FA Cup final, to be honest, is that we played a really good first half against them, and then they sort of picked it up.
So unlucky in that first half not to be 1-0 up at Wembley. I remember I was watching at home because I couldn't get there due to my work commitments, and that really wound me up. I went in with the ump that day. But I think in that first half, if Jane Ross would have scored that header, which Barzi, I still don't know how she saved that.
Yeah.
But that could have been a completely different game. And that's one of them moments when I think of that game at Wembley. I always think if Jane Ross would have scored that header, we could have won that FA Cup final.
Yeah, because we could have pulled a bit back a bit. So, looking towards the new season, there is an exciting new innovation for women's football, isn't there? The FA have got their backside into gear, and so you want to talk about the new app that the FA have now developed for women's football. Yeah, so the FA are going to do a new app. So they're going to do the whole games will be streamed. I don't know yet if they're going to be geo-locked though, but they may be good for the American fans to see. Might have lost one. So hopefully that will allow you guys over in the States to watch the games, and you can actually cheer on the women. One second. See if we can get Reese back. Give us 2 seconds while we see if we can get this back. And we're back. We've lost Reece for the brief moment. We're going to try and get him back. So I'm going to just give a rundown, basically, of why I think you should support the women next season. Mainly because they are West Ham, as we've said, and we should support West Ham anything. They're a great bunch of girls. They really care for West Ham. I think I have him back. There we go. We've got him back.
I used my media skills and did the old thing where you go off, you leave, and then you come back.
Fantastic. Right. So you can explain the app better than I can. So you know more than I do.
So we're on about the FA app, right? They've announced.
Yes.
So basically, it's an app which I'm pleased about, actually, because BT Sport won't have the advantage of having to pay to watch FAWSL games, which did kind of wind me up towards the back end of the season. But what it is they've launched a new app where people all over the world, which is important for our women's game, can watch our league and one game of the championship every round from the 1st of September, I think it is.
Okay.
So pretty much what it does is, if you can't get to a game, there's a selection of matches on there that people can watch. But what's really good about that as well is, I understand Everton, all their home games, unless it gets changed, because they're doing this thing now where the TV kind of, BBC and BT Sports select the time and they can move games to the Saturday. But as it stands, I think Everton, all their games kick off at 12:30 because of their stadium move.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing anything on a Sunday and you're not going to one of these WSL games, you can watch whoever Everton are playing at 12:30, and then you can go in and maybe if say us West Ham kicking off at 3:00, you can kind of make your Sunday around the FAWSL, which I think is a really, really important asset, because I think, well, for me, I've actually cancelled my Sky Sports subscription because of it, and I think that could kind of take away the loyal fans from the FAWSL that normally couldn't watch these games.
Absolutely.
So they went to watch men's football, and I think it kind of stops that, which is a really important asset this year.
Absolutely, because you can build your own Super Sunday, because all our home games will always be at 3 for some reason. We like to go against the grain. You will get games that start at 2, and like you said, all the Everton home games are going to be at 12:30, so you can get your own little Super Sunday going and watch all of the football, because that's what I like to do anyway.
Yep. My mum always complains to me towards the start of the season. I said to her the other day, "Oh, the Premier League starts this week," and she kind of stared at me to say, "Oh God, I've got to watch that all weekend."
It's all right. My mum's the one that got me into football, so she doesn't care. It's Dad that complains more.
So that's really weird, because you kind of expect your dad to be, spurring you on to watch it, not complaining.
Oh no, he's a rugby man. It's my mum's fault that I like West Ham.
So I just don't get how people can prefer rugby to football. I think rugby I don't understand it, to be honest.
Right, so I think we're going to wrap this up in a little bit, because we have been yakking for like half an hour. So we are going to do this more regularly. We're going to give a roundup of the season as it progresses, what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. However, I was just saying when you went off air, my only Philip, why people should be supporting our girls this season?
I think that's very simple. I think if you watch the World Cup, going into it, a lot of people was saying women's football wasn't the same quality as men's, and by the end of it, that stereotype kind of went out the window. But what's important as well is we've got a team that's going to be really competitive this year. I feel like every game that we play is going to be very entertaining, and not only that, we now have a squad for me that can threaten the big sides throughout 90 minutes. But one team that I would love to see everybody turn up for is that Tottenham home game. Let's create an atmosphere and hopefully see our girls beat Tottenham, because that's one team I can't stand.
Yeah, no, I'm like that. I've had to tell my other half that they're buying the tickets for Chelsea and Tottenham because I refuse to give them my money. As much as I support women's football, I refuse to give them my money.
See, now I remember that I think this was on Twitter the other week, and somebody said you had to sign up to this this Arsenal thing to be an Arsenal fan to get tickets. But I got to the stage where I didn't want to sign up for that. But because I hate, pretty much I've got a mate that's really made me despise Arsenal throughout the years now. And I kind of got to the stage where I didn't want to I didn't want to sign up for their fans, but I didn't want to give them an extra £2. So I just ended up going, look, I'm not giving them an extra £2. I'm signing up.
Well, that's the thing. I am a member of so many different football clubs due to my pursuit of women's football because I'm a member of Southampton, I'm a member of Brighton, I'm a member of Yeovil, I'm a member of all these different clubs because you want to make sure you're going to get your ticket beforehand. Yeah. There's many.
I think what's important as well for us to mention about women's football this year is with the two top divisions of the game this year, for me, are going to go to the wire.
Yeah,
I think that championship is so tight that I mean, I was discussing with FAWSL Full Time, which is a magazine publication that covers the top two divisions in women's football, and I think I listed 8 teams when I was trying to create my own predictions that could win the league, and in the end, I went with Aston Villa. But I think there could be a surprise package that win this league this year.
I have a feeling that league's going to be won by Durham because they came very close last year, and that they were a very they're surprising because they're not supported by a men's team; they're supported by a university. So I think Durham might do it.
The thing is, though, with Durham, is would they be? I don't know if you know this, Ali. Would they be able to fund that team enough to be in WSL? Because I think now with teams coming up, they have to prove that they have the funding to protect these teams. Because I don't think the FA want another situation which unfortunately happened to Yeovil. Yeah,
I think they've actually more likely to get the full funding because they are sponsored by a university.
Then again, Coventry,
Yeovil, and we've had with like Doncaster, and we've had it with Nottingham, Notts County. Is money goes out of the club, the first thing to go is your women's team.
Yeah.
So I think Durham might have more.
But what really winds me up as well is with that is, as you said, the first thing to go would be the women's team. But I always think when we've got these men's footballers and such excessive contracts, why don't you just cut some of their squad and stop, getting rid of these women's teams? Because effectively, the women's team probably costs 25% of the amount as that men's team. So that's the thing that really winds me up.
That is the biggest problem, and that was, I'm sure, something we're going to cover on another show. So we are going to do this more regularly. Hopefully, we'll get some other fans that will be able to come and give us their opinion. But we're going to cover how the season goes, like players that we should be watch. I'm going to cover West Ham and the league as a whole. So hopefully, you guys will come back and listen to our ramblings on women's football. Where can people find you on like social media, or do you want to keep that private?
No, I'm all right. I'll share it. For all West Ham fans only, no Tottenham fans. It's at Lamin Reese on social media.
Fantastic. And as you can see by the name, I'm under Axel's Girl. That's where you can find links to my blog, my Insta, which is mainly me grinning inanely with West Ham footballers. But it's been a fantastic show, and we look forward to seeing you soon.